The latest news, national issues, the political scene, and conversations with prominent personalities. All these firsthand at the forefront. Good morning. I am Attorney Karen Jimeno. Former Congressman and Bayan Muna Party List Chairman Neri Colmenares has been one of the loudest voices for human rights in the Philippines. As the president of the National Union of People's Lawyers, an association of lawyers advocating for human rights, Colmenares has been fighting for justice on behalf of the families who fell victims to extrajudicial killings of the past administration. Will Neri Colmenares get another chance at crafting laws in Congress for human rights in next year's elections? Joining us live at the BNC studio, former Congressman and Bayan Muna Chairman Neri Colmenares. Good morning, Congressman Neri.
Good morning, Attorney Karen.
Thank you for your time here today. And to start off with something more fast-paced, we'll give you issues and then answer yes or no and briefly explain why.
Okay.
So we'll start off with the death penalty.
Yes.
Yes or no?
No, I'm against death penalty. In fact, I did an article against it. Yeah, it's
Why?
not a deterrent. It is always victimizing the poor, and the justice system here is not hospitable to poor people in terms of death penalty.
Divorce.
Divorce, we've always voted with Gabriela on that. Gabriela
Yes.
has been the author.
Is it a yes or no?
Yes, and then yes, we've always voted with Gabriela for the divorce bill.
Why?
Because we believe that there are spousal violence, there are issues that cannot be resolved anymore, and the family actually gets broken because of this spousal violence if we maintain that they continue to live in one house. So we agree with Gabriela here that divorce should be a law here, and it's an option for all couples to do so.
Legalizing medical marijuana.
Yes, I agree with that. Bayan Muna voted for it because it's but proper for those with pain and other ailments. If the marijuana can be of benefit to them, it is an option. So we vote for that.
And you don't think that would make the drug problem in the Philippines worse?
No, it's just what do they call that? This gushing effect that if you do that, then everything else will fall into place. No, we don't agree. We don't believe in that. And I've been to forums where the parents of these children are crying and saying, we need this, but it's not allowed. So that's the only way we can alleviate the pain of our kids. So I agree with them.
Train law.
Oh, we voted no against it because it actually increased a lot of taxes for, say, petroleum, for example. Imagine it's 1 pesos, 2 pesos, a total of 6 pesos per liter of diesel, for example. And the moment you increase taxes for these products, then all the other products using it will also increase, inflation increases. And to think, Attorney Karen, these taxes, where do they go? Do they really go back to the people? No, they go to pork barrel and all other, and program funds, for example. So we voted no against the train law for that reason.
Create more law.
Create more laws?
Yeah, create more. It's we
the law
started
on-
with the create, and then
Yeah.
there was a create more bill that became law
We
recently.
disagree with this taxation aspect because for us, for example, VAT and other consumption taxes, not progressive taxation. Decreasing corporate income tax, not good, because if you're going to get something for taxes, you get it from the big firms, from the billionaires. Why should you exempt them from these taxes? So we voted no against it, and we will vote no again, even if they refile another create laws in the future.
And you don't think that this create more bill also reduce taxes for small and medium enterprises?
Well, it does, but we disagree with the portion that the corporate income taxes are being arbitrarily, we would like to think, decreased. The reason why investments are not here is not really mainly because of taxes. The reason why investment here is difficult because of the various issues, infrastructure, corruption, and so on.
Yeah.
So that's not the focus of any reform. The focus of reform should be, we follow the Constitution, progressive taxation. The more you earn, the more taxes you pay.
And lastly, political dynasty, anti-political dynasty law.
Against political dynasty law, I was in fact the lead author of the anti-dynasty law, which...
So you are in favor of the anti-political dynasty law?
Yes. I'm against dynasties, political dynasties. They say, oh, it's level, they won the election, that's why they have all the right to be there. I disagree. They didn't win the election fair and square. They've always have the upper hand here. I mean, the playing field is not level. For 3 years, the son or the daughter is with the congressman or the governor distributing, whatever pork barrel they're distributing. For 3 years, every graduation program, the nanay who is a governor will always have the sister, the brother, the son, the daughter with her. So, the political dynasties always had the advantage over challengers who had no pork barrel, who had no recognition because they were not invited in the graduation or in the distribution of the relief and tupad and all these AICs and so on. So yeah, there's no level playing field, and the moment a dynasty is elected, they get elected not because of the voters, they get elected because of their family name. If that happens, then accountability suffers. Meaning to say, the dynasty politician says, I don't have accountability to you voters. I didn't win because of you. I won because of my family name. So once accountability is not there, then mismanagement, corruption, and misgovernance comes in.
And your opposition to political dynasties is also related to this system of patronage politics that we have in the Philippines.
Correct.
And the source of funding mostly is also coming from pork barrel or whatever ayuda they're able to provide during their term.
Yes, pork barrel is actually legitimizing vote buying. Because when you have pork barrel for 3 years before the election, you're distributing it and you're making people vote for you because of your pork barrel. So I guess that's why we're against it. Bayan Muna is against it precisely because public funds are being used for electoral campaign. If a politician wants to give people aid, then you do it, but you use your own money. Don't use the whatever, tupad or AICs or what do they call sagip, akap,
yes, ang dami na nga.
It used to be sip-sip in 2023. Now it's sagip in 2024. They probably thought, oh, sip-sip doesn't sound good. But anyway, that's why we're against it. For Bayan Muna, ganito ang amal sa Bayan Muna. Dapat ang pondo diretso sa tao, huwag nang sumabit pa sa bulsa ng mga politiko.
But how will it be distributed? So, in your opinion, all of these programs like you mentioned, AICs, AKAP, ano pa ba iba? Right now, a lot of them are being distributed by members of Congress. We had Congressman Marcoleta said na meron siyang mga colleagues sa Congress minsan na pumupunta at nagdi-distribute itong mga ayuda nga. So in your opinion, who should be distributing these ayuda?
Executive. We filed the case against pork barrel in the Supreme Court in the case of Araulio versus Aquino. And we won the case. The Supreme Court said bawal ang post-enactment. So the moment Congress passes the budget, then you leave it to the executive to implement it. Wala
So
na
yung
talaga
mga government agencies dapat under the executive departments.
Attorney Karen, who knows kung saan pwedeng magtayo ng eskwelahan? Is it the congressman or DepEd? DepEd, syempre. I mean, who knows kung paano mamigay ng scholarship? Is it the senator or CHED? CHED, syempre. Yan ang trabaho ng CHED. So why would... I mean, the criteria of politicians in giving scholarship is not really because of any academic skills. It's just, oh, she's the daughter of my aliado. He's the son of my kapitan. Barangay Kapitan. And that's not how scholarship should be distributed.
And constitutionally, it's really clear in our constitution that Congress should be limited to passing laws.
Correct.
And not dispensing funds.
Actually,
not holding them and executing programs.
Yes, you're right. For me, in my legal opinion as a lawyer, there are 3 functions of Congress. First is legislation. And legislation is drafting laws. investigation in aid of legislation is part of that. The second is what I call the special constitutional powers, like, canvassing of presidential election, impeachment, declaration of war. The third is oversight. That's the check and balance function of Congress. The oversight simply means we passed a law. Now we're going to oversight the executive. How did you implement the law we passed? And that is investigation as part of our oversight function. I think it's a misnomer for certain public officials who think that investigation is always in aid of legislation. No. There are two kinds of investigation. A congressional investigation in aid of legislation because you want to pass a law someday, but there's also an investigation as part of oversight function. You're not going to pass a law. We're just going to oversight you for the law we passed and how you implemented it. If there is, mismanagement, corruption, we're going to, throw the kitchen sink at you. So,
so since you already discussed the ability to conduct investigations by
Yes.
Congress, you were in the Quadcom hearing where former President Duterte appeared as a resource person.
yes.
What is your role in that hearing? Do you represent anyone in particular?
Yes, we've always been invited. I've always been invited in the Quadcom since the start, and even before that in the Human Rights Committee, because I am one of the counsel, dalawa kami ni Attorney Chrissy Conti, of the families of the EJK victims, doon sa case sa ICC. We drafted the complaint, we filed the complaint since 2018, and we're there to represent them in the hearing. So, yeah.
Based on what you've seen so far in the Quadcom hearings and even in the statements made by former President Duterte in the hearings, do you think that there are now sufficient basis to file any cases, whether against the former president or officials involved in the anti-drug war?
First, with regards to the ICC, crimes against humanity was the case we filed there. No? Crimes against humanity for murder and other inhumane acts. The elements of crime against humanity in the ICC and even here in the Philippines under Republic Act 9851.
Yeah.
I'll just summarize it to two. First, widespread or systematic attack against civilians, and two, with knowledge of the attacks. The first, widespread, systematic, it's been there. Many witnesses have already testified and say it's from Apari to Hulu. These attacks are going widespread. And systematic, there's always a modus operandi, riding in tandem, by bus, and so on, nanlaban. The second is knowledge of the attack. That is a very difficult element to prove under international law and even here. President Duterte has supplied all that with his admissions. Admissions like kill, kill, kill. Kill the drug addicts, kill the drug pushers, kill the lawyers of drug addicts, kill the human rights defenders who protest against extrajudicial killings, kill. And it's there. And thousands began dying after he says those words publicly. Second, his public admissions that, wag kayong mag-alala, ako bahala sa inyo, I'll amnesty you, I'll pardon you, etc. Third, sinabi ni Garma that not only did he order the killings, but he also funded the killings. Fourth, may death squads ako, kill, 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 all his statements in the Quadcom and even in the Senate, encourage the police to, inuudyukan ko ang police to encourage the victim to fight back. So all these things, all these admissions actually shows knowledge of the attack. The problem with President Duterte, he's thinking in terms of murder under
Revised Penal Code.
The Revised
Yes.
Penal Code. The elements of murder here is, of course, a person was killed. So
Yes. And you need to be either a principal by inducement or you have to be
cooperation, indispensable cooperation, etc. And second, of course, you're the one who killed the person, and the third, the qualifying circumstances of murder are there. But in crime against humanity, he doesn't know that the elements there are just the two things. That there is a widespread and systematic attack, and you have knowledge of the attacks. So these amorphous thousands who were killed, there's no need for them to be identified specifically, all of them. The fact that there are killings that are widespread or systematic, and if the prosecutor proves that you have knowledge of the attacks, you're convicted. So the ICC case is strong. Go back to the Philippines now. The families, in fact, went to the ICC precisely because they didn't see justice coming, here in the Philippines. They were asking General Bato, for example, and President Duterte for documents. In the 6 years they were in prison, they were in power. SOCO report, police blatter, everything. They didn't do that. That's why I went to the ICC. Now, we're going to watch and see if the DOJ can file a strong case and if they're really serious or genuine investigation or prosecution before we can judge whether or not a case should be filed in the Philippines.
Well, you were a lecturer in Australia before.
Yes.
On ICC matters.
Yes.
And based on the statements of the Quadcom, they said that they might, by the conclusion of the hearings, recommend the filing of proper charges. We have a law here in the Philippines, Republic Act 9851,
Yes.
that addresses crimes against or violations of international humanitarian law. So should there be a case filed under that Republic Act 9851, won't that remove the jurisdiction of the ICC? Because the ICC assumes that there is no proper working system or justice system in the country.
Not necessarily. Actually, there's a misimpression that the ICC requires, if the justice system is working in a country, the ICC has no jurisdiction. That's actually a misapprehension on the part of the government, on Duterte's side actually. They're always saying, oh, but the justice system is working here. They don't know that in the complementarity provision of the ICC, Article 17, the first sentence says, the ICC has jurisdiction if the accused is not being genuinely investigated or prosecuted in the country of his, where he is. Mm-hmm. So the first question is he being prosecuted here? The answer since 2018, when we filed the case, until now, is no. So there's even no need to go into the next sentence whether or not the justice system is working. The proof that the justice system is not working is actually because Duterte is not being prosecuted. Now, the moment he's prosecuted here, is the ICC jurisdiction already a sort of, should it be dismissed? The answer is in the next sentence. Even if this accused is being investigated or prosecuted, is the prosecution genuine? That's what the ICC is saying. So if the ICC says, this prosecution is dinefine ng ICC, intended merely to shield the accused from genuine accountability, then the ICC continues to have jurisdiction. If there is inordinate delay in the prosecution, then the ICC continues to have jurisdiction, even if a case is filed. And in the Philippines, Attorney Karen, I don't know if many lawyers, I don't know if lawyers will agree, but it's very slow here. Mm-hmm. With a person like Duterte, maybe in 5 years' time, it's still ongoing.
But that's just the nature of the justice
Correct.
System here in the Philippines.
Correct.
So that would, by Philippine standards, still be a genuine prosecution. So would that not go against one of the requirements of the ICC?
No.
If indeed there is a genuine prosecution, especially with the, let's say, the unit team already having a rift.
No, because the ICC considers inordinate delay, as that's the standard internationally. The Philippine government can say, oh, it's taking us 6 years, but this is really genuine. For the families of the victims, we can't say that. Because that's the standard here. Maghintay na lang kayong 6 years. I mean, their son was killed in 2016. And if another 6 years or 5 years, that's 2029, that's what, 13 years ago. So that's really unacceptable. And I hope that the Philippine government will not argue that, oh, it will take us 4 years because Duterte is powerful, he's rich, he has a lot of lawyers. But this is what I'm also saying, Karen. Ang sinabi ni President Duterte, alam mo, mga mahirap na yan, dadalhin mo pa sa korte, marirelease din lang yan, matagal yan, barilin mo na para matapos. That's the solution. But when he is confronted in Congress, he says, ay di kasuhan niyo ako. There's a separate justice system here. Pag mayaman ka pala, like President Duterte, kasuhan mo ako. Pero pag mahirap ka, wag mo nang kasuhan yan, patayin mo na. That's the kind of justice system na hirap i-defend ng gobyerno ni President Duterte since he's the accused. Doon sa ICC, mahirap niyang i-defend yan kasi what kind of justice system is that when you're going to take out the ICC jurisdiction in favor of a justice system that has a different set of standards for the rich and a different set of standards for the poor.
Well, Congressman Neri, it's been 2 years since former President Duterte ended his term. And in fact, he is no longer part of an alliance because the unit team already broke up for
Correct.
over a year now. So if there is indeed enough evidence against him, how come there hasn't been a single case that's been filed against him? But before you answer that question, we'll have to take a short break. At the forefront, we'll be right back. Welcome back at the forefront. And Congressman Neri, it's been 2 years since former President Duterte ended his term, and it's been over a year since he was on the opposition when the unit team broke up. So why has there been no case filed against him if indeed the evidence against him is strong?
I really don't know because it's the DOJ. Sorry, the DOJ should have all the data. The problem was, in the ICC itself, the DOJ, the Philippine government actually then, admitted that they only got 52 out of the thousands of killings, 52 cases were elevated to the DOJ. So I'm not too sure right now if they still have access to the documents. You see, this is the problem here, Attorney Karen. During the 6 years, the families of the victims kept on asking the police, can you have the blotter, the police report? Nothing. In fact, there's an order from the chief PNP before that no document shall be released to anybody for any crime under investigation, using President Duterte's freedom of information executive order. So that's why when people say like, oh, we're here for the truth from the Duterte camp, we're here for the truth. Look, for 6 years, the families were asking for the truth. You refused to do it. Now, you're going out for the truth. Nobody believes you. Hindi ito katotohanan ng gusto niyong sabihin. So, why? For 2 years, well, they were allies before, but now they're not allies. So in 1 year's time, I don't know if how much document they have gathered, but there is always a problem here. Like, for example, there's a father there in the Quadcom. One of our victims testified that his daughter was killed with a gunshot wound here, sa kilikili daw. When the death certificate came out, it says bronchopneumonia. So how can the father file a case of murder against the police? Because the judge will just dismiss it and say, why murder? Your daughter died of natural causes. So that's the problem here. The document he has is bronchopneumonia. And so the poor families have a lot of problems if in a case here. If it will go for 4 years, 5 years, wala silang pamasahe to go there. Mahirap sila eh. So that's why you cannot blame the victims if they look at with wary view the cases here. But having said that, there are cases which are very strong. What are the cases that are strong? These are the killings of human rights defenders. Kasi in this case, they use search warrants. The search warrant factory by the judges who issued it, Judge Villavert, Judge De La Rosa, and so on. The police are identified there. Then the killings, same case, nanlaban. But this time they're identified. So they can use these strong cases because they're still crimes against humanity. It doesn't matter what the reason was. I'm killing you because you're a drug addict. I'm killing you because you're the lawyer of a drug addict. I'm killing you because you're a human rights defenders complaining against the war on drugs. It doesn't matter. It's still crime against humanity. So the case of Tumandok, for example, in Iloilo, very strong. The case of Bloody Sunday in Batangas and Southern Luzon,
These are
very strong.
all existing pending cases that you're mentioning.
Yes, there is a case filed in Batangas. Unfortunately, the DOJ dismissed it. For some strange reason, the DOJ dismissed a very strong case, for example, the Evangelista couple in Batangas. Very, very clear. There was a search warrant for the house. The victims were not there. The police looked for the victims, saw them in another address, dragged them to the house, because that's where the search warrant is issued, and then shot them there. I mean, this is very clear. The NBI report was very strong there. So all these cases, the DOJ can expand these cases with regards to the human rights defenders and even lawyers of the drug suspects, because these are very strong cases na pwede nilang i-file. So yun lang naman, while we say na okay na rin if you're going to file, if you're going to investigate, just expand your investigation to look for the strong cases. The moment they file a weak case against President Duterte, and President Duterte, is exonerated, the more reason why we will continue in the ICC, because this is the wrong venue then if that's the case.
But it does sound like there's a bit of a forum shopping there, because again, going back to the requirements of the ICC, there should be a genuine prosecution. But if the other cases you mentioned right now are
strong,
genuine efforts, and you say strong, genuine prosecution, then that would fall under the requirements, or meaning that it might.
Actually, no, because
it
the
might
parties
negate the jurisdiction of the ICC.
Well, for me, if there's a genuine justice system in the Philippines, wala man akong sinasabi na we always resort. In fact, it's better if the justice system here is the one going against accountable people. The legal discrepancy only here is that if they're going to, the ICC case, there must be same person, same act, same crime. And in the case, for example, of human rights defenders, that's no longer similar to the war on drugs, drug addicts. So it can be that itong war on drugs victims, tuloy lang sa ICC, itong attacks against lawyers and human rights defenders, tuloy dito. So there is no quote-unquote forum shopping in that sense. And for me, affording victims of affording victims of extrajudicial killings justice, wherever the forum, is very important.
And how are you able to finance the defense of these families? Because as you mentioned, they're very poor.
Yes.
They tend to be very poor. So paano yung mga nababayaran yung mga services ng human rights lawyers?
Well,
like you?
yung puro abono. We don't, of course, wala naman kaming sisingilin sa kanila. And yung ICC, yun naman ang kagandahan doon, kasi once we filed the complaint, we drafted the complaint. I mean, once we filed it, wala naman kaming gastos na. I mean, the prosecutor is the one investigating. Sana ganun dito.
Dito magas. And when you go to the Quadcom hearings, for example, yung transportation and even your time, because you could be working as a lawyer and earning income.
Kami talagang na yon, libre na yon. Yung families of the victims, ang tumutulong lang sa isa pamasahe nila. May church kasi, Rise Up for Life. It's the mga churches ang nag-create noon, nag-establish nung panahon ng kasagsagan ng war on drugs. And they're helping the families. So yung mga maliliit na bagay like pamasahe sa Quadcom from Payatas or wherever, natutulungan niya ng mga church people. So but generally yung ICC, isa pa pala yon. Yung ICC hindi ganun kagastos sa pamilya. Ang ICC. At pangalawa, tingin nila walang palakasan dun eh. Hindi naman kilala ng ICC kung sino si Duterte, sino yun. Walang pakialam. So doon kaya sila nagre-rely doon, other than the fact na for 6 years humingi sila ng hustisya, hindi sila pinakinggan ni Duterte. That's the reason.
But in the end, let's say this does go to prosecution and there is a conviction at the level of the ICC, what would happen? Can they enforce a judgment and also put those liable in prison?
Yes. So the warrant of arrest, for example, there's a shift of policy in government right now. The first is wala talaga, then later on, ang shift, tectonic shift. Hindi naramdaman, pero sa akin tingin tectonic yung shift na yun. Sabi nila, we will no longer interfere with ICC investigation. Meaning to say the ICC can come here and they can investigate, government will not interfere. We will not help them, but we will not interfere. The third shift is, this time, if the warrant of arrest is served, the Interpol serves it, well, we will not object. I mean, we will allow the Interpol to do so. And under the agreement, the Philippine government will facilitate the arrest. So, who has jurisdiction of President Duterte if he is convicted in the ICC? Well, the rules of the Rome Statute says that he can be imprisoned in the place, in the state, Philippines. Or second is any other state who, agrees to host the prison facility. And sana wag naman China. And the third is the Hague. So either of the three, pwede siyang makulong doon kung sakaling makonvict siya.
Okay, and then now let's go to something lighter. We'll be showing you photos on the LED screen, and these all have something to do with you. And give us a brief description.
I'm afraid now.
So now we're seeing the city of Bacolod. Dito ba kayo pinanganak?
Yes, that's where I was. So yeah, that's the NGC, I think, the National Government Center of Bacolod.
And we heard that you were adopted by your wealthy aunt. Totoo po ba yun?
Yeah, because when I was, my mother, orphans, and this is, their eldest sister married rich, asyendero. So, siya ang nagtustos sa kanila, aral, lahat sa mga siblings niya. At wala silang anak, so ang ni-request niya sa mother ko, can I have your firstborn? So, ang mother ko said yes. Ang lang ng mother ko, can my son, Neri, still know me as the mother and the father, yung tatay ko, even if sayo na siya. Pumayag naman yung sister.
Did you have any resentment with that arrangement na feeling mo pinamigay ka?
No, kasi every Sunday naman, pinapadalaw yung parents ko sa akin. So I still knew them as my parents. Yung Tita Luz, I couldn't pronounce Luz, so I always, Tita Wus. My Tita Wus, the one who adopted me, and Tito Bieng was, I know them always as Tito and Tita, but they took care of me. So, that's a bit of a problem initially sa amin kasi iba yung upbringing ko, yung sisters ko. Iba yung upbringing kasi hindi naman kami mayaman, government employees lang parents namin. So, yeah, but no resentment at all kasi very close naman yung family
At hindi
namin.
ba kayo na-spoil? Because you had adoptive parents that were wealthier.
Yeah, medyo na-spoil ako. That's why when my adoptive parents died, my mother asked for me, so nabalik naman ako ng tito ko. My tito survived my tita. Binalik naman ako sa bahay namin. So my sister isn't used to me, getting a little bit more attention. But yeah, but after so many years, nag-adjust na rin. But during those years na kababalik ko sa bahay, palagi kami nag-aaway ng kapatid kong babae. Kasi why is, pag maligo ako dati, I'm embarrassed to admit this, gusto ko mainit yung tubig.
Sanay ka sa may heater.
So sabi ng kapatid kong babae, si Oyen, sabi niya, bakit mainit yung tubig niya? Bakit ako? Tabo lang.
Entitled. Okay, next look at the next picture.
Saan yung next picture?
So we're looking at chess here, para larong pambansa. Were you a chess champion before?
Yeah, yes. When I was in third year high school, second year high school, about 14, 13 years old, my father actually taught me chess at 8 years old. And then Fischer-Spassky, I became, really addicted to chess. And then at age of 15, I was the Negros Occidental champion sa chess. And then 16, I was the Western Visayas champion.
Wow.
And
So
then
really
went
talented.
to palarong pambansa, and yeah,
Do you still play chess up to now?
konti, bihira na lang, but I was the vice president of the National Chess Federation before, and now I'm still the director for grassroots. Ang focus ko sa National Chess Federation is grassroots. Like, palarong pambansa precisely. May iba sa amin, dual function naman yung NCFP. Merong tumututok sa elite chess, grandmasters yun, the grandmasters. And international tournaments. Ang sa akin, ang tulong ko naman dyan to encourage age group, yung mga 14.
Yung mga mas bata.
Yeah.
And then let's look at the next picture.
The next picture is what?
Here. Kanina nakita ko na nag-flash. That's why I asked you.
Ah, okay.
Have you seen this? Martial law images.
Yeah,
Oo, ayan.
yes. I was...
Were you an activist before?
Well, alam mo, hindi necessarily kaagad, no? When I was 16, I became a student Catholic Action. Ano kasi ako Catholic Church School ako La Consolacion College when I was elementary, St. Joseph LaSalle in Bacolod when I was in high school, and then San Beda when college. Well, I did, my fourth year, I did a public school in our hometown, La Castellana. But anyway, because of that, I became the chairperson of the Student Catholic Action in Negros, and later on became the Student Catholic Action Regional for the entire Visayas. But anyway, our Bishop for Teach was
and
very...
we heard that at 18 years old na torture ka.
Yes, that's why I was leading to na ang SCA kasi, we had this belief before sa SCA, Vatican Council II, that when the people of God, the church is the people of God, and if the people are being attacked or human rights are repressed, then the church is being attacked. So we criticized Marcos for human rights violations. They, of course, cracked down on the Catholic Church, and I was one of those arrested at the age of 18. And they did torture me during that time.
What was the worst memory you've had of being tortured?
Torture, well, of course, the usual, bugbog, kuryente. They would put M16 bullets in between my fingers and they would squeeze it. But the worst is Russian roulette. I couldn't, they would put this revolver, then they would put one bullet and they put it in my mouth and they say, "Are you lucky tonight?" I think.
So talagang papaputokin nila yung baril.
Yeah, and then they would do that. And you see, Attorney Karen, if the barrel of the gun is inside your mouth, it's very cold. So you really, malamig ka na nga, as in nervous ka Tapos malamig pa. And then, the moment, what do you call that?
You hear the clicking sound.
The click, I don't know what it's called. But pag gumanon na, it's so loud that you thought it exploded. I mean, it fired and your brain is splattered all over the wall. It's really a traumatic experience. I couldn't forget that. And they did it twice. Sabi nila, "Oh, you're very lucky. Let's do it again." So I was thinking there were 6 bullets probably in that revolver. So I had before 1 out of 6 chances to die. Now I have 1 out of 5 chances to die. So really, but
Di mo pa talaga panahon mamatay. And how long kayong nakulong that time?
a total of 4 years.
4 years?
Yes,
Ang tagal.
a total of 4 years because, we were campaigning against for the return of the student councils and school papers. Now I remember that. During the time of President Marcos, he banned all student council, school organizations, school papers. So we're just campaigning for the return.
And yet, 4 years po kayong nakulong.
Yeah, a total of 4 years kasi they arrested me twice.
And let's look at the next picture.
University of Melbourne, yes. I was very lucky. I gave a talk in the Australian National University in Canberra. And I was a visiting fellow, they invited me there to do a research on the Alien Tort Claims Law. It's the US law that was used in the Hawaii case. So I delivered a paper there. I didn't know that the Dean of the University of Melbourne was listening, the Faculty of Law. And after my talk, he said, "Very good research and very good, you're very articulate." And he said, "Would you like to have a PhD at the University of Melbourne, scholarship?" And I said, I don't have masters. And he said, "In Australia, we don't necessarily follow that, even if you don't have masters." So I had my PhD there on the International Criminal Court and did teach for those, subjects where human rights, ICC, etc.
But amazing, no? Who would have thought that years later you would be able to use all that knowledge on the ICC here in an actual case in the Philippines?
Correct, yes. So, yeah.
And let's look at the next picture.
Oh.
Angel Locsin. So, how is she related to you? Tita mo daw ba siya?
Yeah.
Or tita mo talaga siya?
Yeah. Si Angel, ang tawag namin sa Visayas yan, sa Ilonggo, mataas ang dugo. So, she is actually the first cousin of my father. So, technically pamangkin niya ako. But of course, when we meet, hindi naman siya tawag tito sa akin. Manong tawag niya, di ba? Manong Neri, kasi mas matanda naman ako, di hamak sa kanya. So yeah, kaya minsan hindi ko na lang binabanggit kasi ang sunod na tanong, pag nalaman nila ng kamag-anak ko si Angel, ang sunod na tanong, anong nangyari sa'yo, Kong Neri? Bakit maliit ka? Hindi ka naman mistiso. Para ang layo nyo, di ba? Na, my grandfather kasi, the Colmenares side, is very tall, 6'1".
Oh, wow.
Or maybe 6 or so.
At gwapo.
At gwapo, ang lola ko, gwapa din. But she's 4'8".
Ay, malaking discrepancy.
So I was, sa lola ako
so it's
sumunod.
like you either are tall or short. Okay,
Yes.
sa pamilya ninyo. Okay. And can you give us one politician, either past or present, that you have admired? But before you answer that question, we'll have to take a short break. At the forefront, we'll be right back. Welcome back at the forefront. And Congressman Neri, since we're getting to know you better as a person, can you give one politician, whether past or incumbent, that you admire?
Oh, one politician probably, I don't think he's a politician, but I would consider Bonifacio because he was the first president of the Philippine Republic. So
You recognize him as the first president,
for
not
me,
Emilio
yes,
Aguinaldo?
yes. Bayan Muna recognizes Bonifacio. But, you know, present siguro, more or less, is also not a politician, but I would consider, of course, kabaro ko sa Bayan Muna, Teddy Casino.
Ah, yes, Teddy Casino.
As a very admirable public official.
Well, to get to know you better, we're going to give you categories and name your top 3 choices. So first, top 3 persons who influence you to become who you are now.
Oh, my parents. Very, very
Parents.
important. During my student Catholic Action days, there was a priest who was very also important to me. Bayan Muna, of course, marami. Parang hindi ko maubos top 3 persons.
But generally, Bayan Muna, yung mga tao doon.
Yes, yes. Very inspiring people.
And ito, para dun sa mga gusto rin pumunta sa Bacolod, top 3 places you go to in Bacolod.
Because I lived in La Castellana, we always want to go up Mount Canlaon every, yung Holy Week. Parang Panata ba? That's a nice place. You go on top of Mount Canlaon. Second, Manukan, of course.
Manukan, pagkain.
Yeah, pagkain, the best manok in town. And I would love to visit the hot springs diyan sa Mambukal.
I've never been there.
Marami. But
so, yun yung top 3.
At least siguro top 3 for now.
Top 3 most important bills that you've passed in Congress?
Bills passed, 2,000 dagdag sa SSS pension. I was very proud of that kasi suntok sa buwan daw yan, pero nasuntok ang buwan. Yung disaster alerts law, yung nakaka-receive kayo ng text, pag may typhoon,
that's because of you.
Yeah, I authored that law. Pasensya na kung alas 2 ng umaga nagigising kayo.
Yung asawa ko na gigising. Okay.
It's just my intention there. Bayan Muna's intention there when we filed the bill was warning kasi yan. It was after Undoy when I filed the bill. Third, marami rin pero I would say, look, you know, yung PAW law, yung Public Attorney's Office law, nag-increase ng kanilang autonomy, ang kanilang sahod, yung pag-increase ng income tax exemption from 85,000 to 250,000.
That really helped a lot of low income.
Well, ang bill ko is 300,000. Bill ng Bayan Muna is 300,000. Ang bill ng ibang kasamaan Kongkong was about 90,000, 100,000. So sabi nila, Neri, 300,000 suntok sa buwan niya. Aba, yung pinasa later on, 250,000.
So not so far.
Mas malapit-lapit sa akin. So sabi ko,
yun.
pag nagsusuntok ka sa buwan, yun talaga nakasusунtok mo yan minsan.
Top 3 memorable cases you handled as a human rights lawyer?
Well, the first case I handled was, I wasn't even a lawyer yet. I was waiting for the bar results and I intern ako sa isang law firm. Attorney Leo Agustin, I'd like to mention his name. Then one day he comes to me and said, Neri, it is automatic appeal, death penalty case. drugs, murder or something, tricycle driver na involved sa murder. Kasi I drafted the pleading. We filed the pleading, and one day the Attorney Agustin said to me, "Oy, Neri, you won the case. Released yung ano." And then the wife called me and was very weeping and so on. So I was really happy that I had my first law case before I became a lawyer.
And saved someone from death row.
And saved someone because he was very poor. He was very. That's why I'm against the death penalty.
And then, Kong Neri, because we're running out of time, should you get a seat again in Congress in the 2025 elections, do you intend to be a fiscalizer again in government?
Yes, fiscalizer. Plus, of course, the main, the main issue of poverty and so on. We will continue to do that. Bayan Muna's platform now is basically dapat ibaba ang presyo ng bilihin. Tatanggalin ang VAT sa kuryente, tubig at langis. For me, VAT is unconstitutional. It's not progressive taxation. Second is dapat tumaas ang sahod. For us in Bayan Muna, it's dapat living wage. It's 1,200 pesos kada araw sa lahat ng manggagawa, at least sa buong Pilipinas. And third, corruption. Dapat ang masugpo ang korupsyon, diretso ang pondo sa tao, wag nang sumabit pa sa bulsa ng politiko. And so we will continue to go against corruption in the budget and program funds and so on. And fiscalizer any corruption. Kasi proud kami dyan pala, Attorney Karen. Ang Bayan Muna has been in Congress since 2001. Wala kaming bahid ng korupsyon dyan. 3 termino ako sa Kongreso, hindi ako nagpayaman yan. Kaming lahat ng mga Bayan Muna representatives, paano kami pumasok sa Kongreso, ganun din kami lumabas sa Kongreso. At tingin namin, kaya sana natin gawin na public officials na hindi tayo magnakaw sa gobyerno. At gawin lang natin ang trabaho natin.
Very admirable po. Thank you so much, Congressman Neri. And good luck in the 2025 elections.
Maraming salamat po.
Former Congressman Neri Colmenares will remain the voice for human rights if he gets the opportunity to return to Congress as a party list nominee. He also plans to reassume his role as fiscalizer in Congress, even if it means opposing the majority for it. Be timely informed, be insightful of the news. Always stay at the forefront. Join us again tomorrow for meaningful conversations that will help you form an objective personal opinion. And before we go, we'd like to invite everyone to get a copy of Politico 365's book entitled The Charter Change Timeline From Hopes to Hiccups. This is now available at National Bookstore and fully booked branches as well as airport stations. So grab your copy now. This is Attorney Karen Jimeno, and thank you for spending your hour with us.